Hi, this is Lisa Kelly, Notre Dame author and class of 1993, and you are watching the Two Irish Brothers show. Cheers and go Irish!
How's it going, everyone? I am ND Sean 45.
And I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
And together we make up the Two Irish Brothers show. First things first, as always, if you guys haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe tab in the lower right-hand corner. That way you will never miss a video from the Two Irish Brothers show. And also, one of the first things I want to do here in this video, Ben, is give a very special shout out to a really good dude. He's one that we've had on the show before. Former Notre Dame tight end, Irv Smith. Now, why am I giving him a shout out? Well, first off, he's Irv Smith. He's awesome. But just want to give Irv a shout out and say thank you, because every time we upload a video, he is always one of the first people to give the video a like and, you know, give it a show of support. So Irv, if you're watching, which I'm sure you probably will, props to you, man. Shout out to you and thank you so very much.
Thank you.
So, with that said, Ben, it's crazy, but the regular season has officially come to an end.
Yep.
The Irish take care of business last night over Stanford, 45-14. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or anything, but even though my score prediction didn't come true, the right amount of points were there.
Yeah, that's always impressive when you get it right like that, you know. So
see, I said 52-7, and all that had to happen was we had to hold Stanford to one less touchdown and score one more. I would have been right on the money, and that's the closest I've been since going back to my Big Sean Power 10 days. Because the first game I ever did was 2009 against Nevada, and I predicted that game to be a 35-10, but we ended up shutting them out 35-0 that day. But anyway, I digress. Last night, Ben, great way for the Irish to cap off the 2021 regular season. Wouldn't you say so?
Yes, very much so. You know, finish 11-1, another 10-plus win season under Brian Kelly's belt. And, you know, for a team that struggled in the beginning of the season, we sure figured it out and turned it around and on the up and up. And now everything is in other people's hands, unfortunately, for Notre Dame.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just a minute here. But let's talk about the pluses from last night's game. First off, Jack Cohn finished off his last regular season game as Notre Dame starting quarterback with a bang. 26-35, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns. The only negative, the 1 interception, but I think it's safe to say we can forgive him for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, anytime you throw over 300 yards, you know, you make a couple of mistakes, it's easily forgiven. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And especially behind enemy lines in Palo Alto at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But of course, going down the line here, let's start with the receiving core before we get to rushing. But Kevin Austin, he had a big game right from the start. Had a nice catch, finished with 6 catches for 125 yards. No touchdowns, but he put us in position to get into the end zone. Same with Michael Mayer, 9 catches, 105 yards. But as we've been talking about all season long, we have been wanting to see Braden Lindsey contribute more. He did just that last night, 50 yards on 4 catches and 1 touchdown. So that was really a really big plus for him to finish off the regular season.
Yeah, no, it was, you know, and then 1 carry for 12 yards for a rushing attempt, you know. So, yeah, no, he finally did something. Unfortunately, you know, he had a rough season. But, yeah, you're right. You know, all in all, the ball was spread around a whole bunch, and our guys took full advantage. You know, the lowest total was George
Takis.
I always have such a hard time with him. 1 catch for 2 yards. I mean, that was the lowest total, you know. So that's impressive, you know. And then the highest total, obviously, was Kevin Austin with 125. So that's crazy. The unfortunate thing, and I don't know how many people are talking about this and have seen all this, but the award for the best tight end in college football, they always have their finalists for the award. I'm trying to look up the actual name of the award. But two of the best tight ends are not even in the finalists. And Michael Mayer is one of those guys.
Yeah.
John Mackey. Him and then Brock Bowers of Georgia, who's a freshman. Neither one of them are in the finalists for the the John Mackey Award, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Two of the best tight ends in the country, numbers wise, game wise, consistency wise, and neither one of them are in the finalist ring. I don't get it. I really don't understand.
Yeah.
That. But
I don't either. What? Not enough touchdowns, not enough yards.
That's my nitpick for that, and it's not even a nitpick with Notre Dame. It's a nitpick with other things. But
yeah, it's like, what do you got to do to get
right.
that? I mean, good Lord.
But Notre Dame's offense as a whole has turned the corner. I mean, we have turned the corner. Yes, Georgia Tech wasn't great. Yes, Stanford isn't great. But you go down the list of games, and I think Cincinnati is really the only game on the schedule where we didn't score more than 20 points.
Yeah, no, that is correct. I can tell you without looking that it's correct.
So to me, that is, we improved. The team as a whole improved. The defense improved. The offense is vastly improved. And that's what you want to see. And like we said, and like you were saying in the last video, if an 11-1 season is considered rebuilding, then to me, we're doing something pretty right. I mean, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and what's even more impressive, this should tell the whole story with the offense and I guess to some degree the whole team. For starters, with defense, you're doing what you're doing now without your best player in Kyle Hamilton, and also with the offense. And early on, when we were shuffling the offensive line and trying to figure out what to do with them, and Kyron Williams, he was not having a great season numbers wise, which a lot of that in part to the offensive line, but he still last night ended up eclipsing 1,000 yards for the season. What does that tell you? It tells you that the coaching figured something out. Everybody started clicking. Things were going in the right direction. And that's what a good football team and a good coaching staff does.
Yeah.
And speaking of that rushing game, Kyron Williams last night, 19 carries, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chris Tyree contributed with five carries for 44 yards. And of course, Tyler Buckner, and this all came on one big run, most of it, 56 yards, 3 carries, 1 touchdown. And Logan Diggs, a rough night. -2 yards on 4 carries, but the future's still bright for that kid. So all around, Ben, all across the board on offense, everything was just clicking. And there was no doubt in our minds, and I'm sure most other people's minds, that we were going to take care of business against Stanford, and we did just that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things that we love to see. And kind of piggybacking off of my point with the whole points, 5 games on this schedule, we've scored more than 40 points in.
Yeah, we've gotten it going.
I don't care who you're playing, whether it's No Name State or currently this year Georgia. If you score 40 points or more, that's impressive. I'm sorry, that's impressive. But once again, we got to give credit to the defense. We've been really hyping up the offense and been excited with what they've been doing, but defense has just been consistent all season. All season, they've done what they needed to do to put this team in a winning position, and they've done it. I mean, that's all that you can say, and it's impressive.
Oh yeah, and obviously, Marcus Freeman. I mean, the first game, mainly within the last quarter, that is against Florida State, things started to unravel. But ever since then, we've been getting better and better and better and better. So he found a way to work with this group and really get it going.
Yeah, I think part of it is just it's a new system. It's a new system. These guys aren't used to it. And there's going to be some growing pains, and I think that's what happened. And at the end of the day, you're 11-1, and consistently the defense did what it had to do, and there's not much else you can say. I mean, through thick and thin, they've weathered the storm.
Yeah,
so,
ever since Cincinnati, which was the worst so far, the worst day this season. Every challenge we've had since then, we've answered it and we've overcome it. So here we are now, Ben. I mean, there's not much more to say about the Stanford game itself last night. We did what we had to do. So we sit now at 11-1. Good news is, at the very least, we have secured ourselves an NY6 bowl bid in either the Peach or the Fiesta Bowl. But of course, we want more. We want to make that Final Four. Things got a little crazy yesterday. I mean, obviously, Michigan came into the game against Ohio State. The game took care of business. I mean, I had Ohio State winning that one, but Michigan, they came ready to play, and holy crap, they
play angry, man.
They played very angry.
Yeah, they did.
And then, of course, you have the Iron Bowl later that night, and I just, man, the Tigers had him. The Tigers had
him they did
beat. And how do you let that slip away? I mean, obviously the big thing everyone's talking about is why didn't their ball carrier just lay down in bounds? Why did he go out of bounds?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't harp on that too much because look, shit happens. Sometimes things are moving so quick, you're not able to see where you're at, and I get that. But yes, he should have stayed in bounds. That was a 40-second difference right there. But at the same time, you still have to rely on your defense to make a stop. So you can't just pin it all on Auburn's ball carrier. Because I mean that final drive, they had Alabama on their own too, backed up against the wall.
No, so Alabama did what they had to do. I mean, people are saying Auburn blew it. Well, I think it was less of Auburn blowing it and Alabama just going, okay, this is who we are. We're used to it, and they are. I mean, Alabama is one of those teams that. I mean, when they get into a tough situation, been there, done that. They handle their stuff. They're led by Saban, who's arguably the greatest coach of our time. I mean, definitely cementing himself in the realm of one of the greatest coaches of all time. So.
I'm not taking anything away from Alabama. I'm not. That's what a good team does, is they find a way to win the game when they're backed up against the wall. I'm just saying that Auburn had more than a good enough chance to win that game last night, and they blew it. They blew it.
And they're not the only team. I mean, look what happened with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Oklahoma was up by what? 20 points at one point, and Oklahoma State came back and got them. And now Oklahoma State's going to the Big 12 championship. And not Oklahoma, and now Oklahoma State's got a chance to make the playoffs and not Oklahoma. I mean, it's just crazy.
Oh, yeah, there were some crazy games yesterday for sure. And I'm glad you brought up the playoffs because I wanted to discuss that here too. So first off, I put this together right before we started filming, Ben, and I'm just going to put it on the screen right now. But this is what I think the top 6 is going to look like come Tuesday, and some people might be pissed off at me, but I'm just going with the trend of how the committee's been going. So here you go, and let me know what you think. I hate that, man. That for the first 2 out, believe me, it made me sick to my stomach putting that together.
I don't disagree with you. If you look at the actual AP poll, is exactly what you put up. And I don't know if you looked at it or if it's just coincidence. But the
I've not seen it yet.
As of today, came out today, Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2, Cincinnati number 3, Alabama number 4, Oklahoma State 5, Notre Dame 6. So pretty much spot on, just flipping Alabama and Cincinnati. But yeah, and I think what'll happen at the end of the day, going into next week and championship week for these teams, because everybody on this list except for Notre Dame is playing in a championship. I think it is, Alabama drops out of that playoff ranking, and it is Oklahoma State in their place. And it'll be Cincinnati number 3, Oklahoma State number 4, and then the playoff matchups will be set, and it'll be Georgia versus Oklahoma State and Michigan versus Cincinnati.
Yeah, that could very well be the case.
Unless Baylor gets Oklahoma State, which I don't know. Oklahoma State's really got it going right now. So,
well, let's not count out Baylor. I mean, Baylor has a pretty good defense, and they have a powerful offense, just like Oklahoma State does. So it'll be an interesting matchup. But I'll get to what we need to have happen in a second. But I want to explain my top 4 here. I mean, obviously, why on the first 2 out, why I still have us at 6. Now my buddy Magnum thinks that they could drop us into that 5 spot. They could put us there, and it's still a possibility. But this is just what I'm thinking at this point in time right now. But we all know the committee's very high on Oklahoma State right now, and this would not surprise me. This really would not surprise me if they put Oklahoma State at number 5 ahead of us. But obviously, we know Georgia's unanimous number 1. That's not changing.
No.
Now, part of me wanted to put Alabama at number 4 and put Cincinnati in the 3 spot. But here's the thing: even though it took Alabama a come from behind, it took Alabama coming from behind to beat Auburn, they still beat a rival in a tough matchup in the Iron Bowl. Cincinnati, they beat an East Carolina team, which when you compare Auburn to East Carolina, you can't compare the two.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
And with Michigan being in the number 2 spot, you beat your biggest rival in a big time showdown, a top 10 showdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, they deserve to be in that 2 spot.
Well, and not only did you beat your rival, you beat them by how much? I mean, so it's and they were in the top 10. I mean, not only did you beat them by 2 touchdowns, I would say.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like 41-27, I think it was.
42 to 28, 27, 28, something like that.
Somewhere in there. I forget the score myself.
So yeah, I mean, you do that whether you're home or away or on a neutral field site. That's impressive. So yeah, and I it's hard because we're Notre Dame fans, but at the same time, it makes sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it makes complete sense.
So with that said, what we need to have happen to have a shot at making that Final Four, for starters, we need to have the Big 12 champion be a 2-loss team,
which is Baylor.
So go Baylor.
Yeah.
We need to have Georgia beat Alabama in the SEC championship,
which I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so too. And it probably wouldn't hurt if Cincinnati loses a game. And Houston has a great opportunity to do that in the American Athletic Championship game next week. But who knows?
Yeah, I think Cincinnati winning would be better, and then having Michigan lose would be the better option. Because then
that's a tough call. Yeah.
Then Notre Dame has the one team that they lost to be undefeated. And unfortunately with the playoff selection committee, it's all based on what you did, but also who you've played and what they did. So Notre Dame can be like, okay, yeah, we've lost a game, but we lost to Cincinnati, who's undefeated. Everybody lost to Cincinnati this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Going into the playoffs, so I don't know. Part of me wants, like you, who wants to see Cincinnati get exposed and lose to Houston. And then another part of me is like, yeah, well, so it's a tough road to hoe. And yeah, it's hard. Michigan's.
Well, I guess
Iowa. That's the issue. I mean,
yeah.
So
because Iowa, I mean, they get to the top, but they always kind of, they kind of fizzle out when they get there.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the funny thing is, we've said this for years. My brothers and I, when we talk about this, because we live in where there's a lot of Iowa fans. If Iowa just had at least a mediocre quarterback, I hate to think what they could do.
Yeah,
because their offense is so predicated on the running game.
Yes,
but that's beside the point. But all I know is, I guess the $1 million question is, would Baylor winning the Big 12 over Oklahoma State and Georgia beating Alabama in the SEC championship, would those two things alone be enough?
I mean, if you're just going solely on rankings, yes. But it also, like I said in the last video, it depends on what happens between Alabama and Georgia more than anything else. If Georgia just absolutely blows Alabama out of the water, then yeah, I can see Notre Dame getting in. But if Alabama and Georgia go down to the wire and goes into overtime or whatever,
yeah,
then I could see Alabama with 2 losses, if they lose to Georgia, get in.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing, but it makes sense.
Like, okay, you lost to Georgia, but everybody lost to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's would be 13-0 at that point. And not only did you lose to Georgia, though, but you almost beat them.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's
because the hardest part. The hardest part right now is trying to get an idea of how that committee is going to vote and and try to see the trend of what they've been going off of. And it's been hard. It's been really hard to follow.
Man, only time will tell. And next weekend's gonna tell everything. And
yeah, and so
it'll be crazy.
Well, so here we are now. Notre Dame 11-1. At this point, it's been a phenomenal season, regardless of how it's looked at times, regardless of what some people might say. So that's where we're at right now, is we just have to wait and see where the chips fall.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm sure you've read the stories too of some people saying, "Oh, well, we should play BYU in a independent championship game."
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of that. That's just,
yeah.
I think that's just the conference obsessors looking for some desperate argument to kiss more conference ass and stuff like that. So I just, we'll save that for another day. But
sure.
But it's crazy. Our only video that we have to do today, Ben, and well, to everybody watching, I'm sure we'll figure out more things to do. I mean, obviously, bowl season's coming up. Maybe we could do a bowl pick'em type show. Something like that. Of course, we'll be back for the bowl game and or the playoff game, whichever happens in that amount of time. But just because the regular season's over doesn't mean that we're going away.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that's all we have for you guys today in this one. Again, great to finish off the season 11-1, and it's amazing how fast these regular seasons go by, man.
No kidding.
So, but anyway, on that note, we hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did, and Ben, I'm sure you did too as well.
Yep.
And so is there anything else you'd like to add?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, as always, guys, I am ND Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
And thanks again for watching us during this regular season, but it's not over yet. And as always, God bless, good night, or an afternoon in this case, and go Irish.
Go Irish.